You're now watching Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.
All right, it's that time of the year again. It is bowl season. Time to do your homework. We're going to do a lot of it for you right here on Sports Bettor's Paradise. Nobody does his homework like Paul Stone. Paul, as we get ready for the bowl season, and we'll do this on a weekly basis. Every week we'll have your best bets. And, well, I guess as before we get into them, though, I guess opt-outs and coaching situations, a lot of information-based to try and get a gauge, and maybe even ticket sales when you're talking about some of these games in the minor bowls, or the bowls period.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Jimmy, I like to say during the season, in my opinion anyway, it's about the number during the regular season, getting the best of the number. When you shift to bowl season, though, it becomes more about the information. And the information, indeed, is found in that transfer portal and players opting out to prepare for the NFL draft. So it becomes very much information-based. The portal's open until January 2nd this cycle. We'll still have some more people getting in that portal and perhaps some prominent names as well. So it's a different ballgame once you get to the bowls. And the harder you study, I think the better you posture yourself for success during the bowl games. And I started, my preparation as soon as the bowls were starting to be announced there on the 3rd of December this past Sunday. So it's just an ongoing process, updating your notes and, keeping that list of who's in and who's out, so to speak.
Yeah, to give you an idea, and I know it's impossible for you guys to keep up for it all the time, but on my radio show, going into the weekend, it was about 1,300, 1,350. On Monday, after the weekend, it was over 2,000. So, total Division I players in the transfer portal. So, I mean, it made up for more than 20% of the Division I rosters this past year, as opposed to, about 4% a few years ago. So, I mean, it is becoming more and more commonplace. And then when you see, the three quarterbacks as the Heisman finalists in the Heisman Award ceremony over the weekend, all three are transfers. So, along with Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's get to the bowls, Paul, and let's start. We got 6 of them on Saturday, and we go to Albuquerque for the New Mexico Bowl. New Mexico State and Jerry Kill's team. Boy, tough blow because they were trading punches on that Friday night, going right up against that Pac-12 championship game, but trading punches with Liberty, and then Diego Pavia went out. And, man, he is fun to watch how he executes that offense. So that was basically the difference in the game. Not only giving them a chance to win outright, but losing as double-digit dogs in the process. They're 3.5, 51.5 against Fresno State.
Yeah, I mean, the emergence of this historically weak New Mexico State football program under the leadership of second-year head coach Jerry Kill has just been truly remarkable, in my opinion. Prior to his arrival before the 2022 season, the Aggies had won a grand total of just 46 games over the previous 17 seasons, an average of just 2.7 wins per season. Under Kill this season, New Mexico State won 10 games for the first time since way back in 1960. Neither of us were even born then, so that was a good while ago. Back then, New Mexico State, I know you loved this conference back in the day, Jimmy. They competed in the Border Intercollegiate Athletic Association. I never knew any such thing existed until yesterday. But first 10-win season since 1960. So Jerry Kill, what a job he's done there in Las Cruces. Against Fresno State on Saturday, New Mexico State going to be playing in their home state there in Albuquerque, seeking their second straight bowl victory after defeating Bowling Green 24-19 last season in the Quick Lane Bowl as a 3.5-point underdog in that game. As you mentioned, New Mexico State's unmistakable leader is their quarterback, Diego Pavia, injured in that Conference USA championship game, expected to be at full strength for the bowl game. Recently named Conference USA's Offensive Player of the Year. He is the heartbeat of this team. He is a firecracker kind of guy. If he's on your team, you love him. If he's not on your team, you probably don't like him quite as much. But he's a energetic player. Led the Aggies a few weeks back to perhaps the biggest football victory in school history when they traveled to Auburn and prevailed quite comfortably 31-10 as a 26-point underdog. And look at this Fresno State team. After winning 10 games last season, only won 8 this year. They're on a 3-game losing streak. They'll be without their head coach, Jeff Tedford, who's going to sit out the game due to some health issues. They just look like a team to me, Fresno does, that's kind of trying to put 2023 in its rearview mirror, start looking forward to next season. Meanwhile, you've got New Mexico State, and we talk about ticket sales, and we talk about which team is most invested and most interested. You go to their athletic website, they've got a countdown clock for kickoff to the New Mexico Bowl. So they're excited about playing this game. They're stepping up in class a little bit, playing a Mountain West team, laying 3.5. I like the Aggies to defeat the Bulldogs in the New Mexico Bowl.
We try to find out the motivation for the team. I don't know what it's going to be for Fresno State. I do know what it's going to be for New Mexico State for some of the, for all of those reasons that you mentioned, Paul. And also, remember last year they were dogs. I think it was Bowling Green they played up in Detroit, and they won easily, comfortably. You mentioned Diego Pavia. Watch him execute. He doesn't have great size. He's a kind of guy that New Mexico State has to go and get. Okay, their pool of effective quarterbacks, but he maxes out on his ability. He doesn't have a great arm, doesn't have a great size, doesn't have a great speed, but guess what? He can run, he can throw, he's accurate, he's tough, and the way he just executes everything, the play action, he is a coach's dream. He is textbook to watch execute as a dual threat quarterback, as a multi-purpose quarterback. He is fun to watch. I'm all over the Aggies in this one as well. Get extra value this football season with BetRivers Squares. Win up to $10,000 in bonus money. Bet $10 in same-game parlays on any game with the Squares icon to earn a square. I had some of the Squares going this past weekend. Fun, man. Fun, especially as the menu kind of scales down and we've got a little bit more time to devote to things like the Squares. So a little extra action for this bowl season and the rest of the NFL as well. All right, Paul, you know your way to Shreveport? The Independence Bowl. My money is that you do. So we will go there next. And Cal and Texas Tech. So Pac-12 versus Big 12 in this one. Texas Tech is 3.58.5. Texas Tech, the opt-out, the transfer portal meter, 14 players have hit the transfer portal for the Red Raiders.
Yeah, so much, as we've talked about, so much of the handicapping puzzle during bowl season is roster attrition. Who's playing and who's not. And you've got the transfer portal again open through January 2nd. Texas Tech would certainly appear to be the most negatively impacted by the portal between these two teams. They have at least, as you mentioned, they have at least 14 players in the portal right now, especially affected at the wide receiver and offensive line position areas, plus perhaps their top defensive player, defensive tackle Jalen Hutchings. He had 7.5 tackles for loss this year, 3.5 sacks. He's going to miss the game due to injury. So there's a big loss up front in the middle of their defense. They did get a bit of good news yesterday when running back Taj Brooks, a bullish, bruising running back, one of the best running backs in all of college football, says he will return to Lubbock in 2024, so he's expected to play in the bowl game. To underscore what I would call the awkwardness of being a head football coach and kind of the reality of college football in year 2023, Texas Tech's head coach Joey McGuire has said that all the players in the portal are welcome to stay with the program. They're welcome to play in the bowl game until they choose their new program. I wouldn't expect too many of those guys to accept that offer, but it's just a different world that we live in these days of college football. You look at Cal coming off 3 losing seasons entering this season. They won their last 3 games in the regular season to break even at 6-6 and achieve bowl eligibility. Their quarterback, who started the year as the Golden Bears' third-team quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, he's held down the fort. He's played well down the stretch and done just enough. The key to their offense is their running back, Jimmy Ott. He's rushed for a total of more than 2,000 yards the last 2 seasons, so he's durable. He's been affected effective. To me, it just looks like Cal's going to have more hands on deck. They're the more excited team between these two teams. I like Cal +3 over the Red Raiders there in Shreveport in the Independence Bowl.
Yeah, it was Cal. There was Ott that UCLA in the last game led for a whopping 8 to 10 seconds when Ott returned the kickoff 100 yards for a touchdown as well. So, good going, nephew. All right, baby, keep it going. So for the Cal Bears, and don't you think Texas Tech, because we thought they had a chance to do a little something. They had a solid first year with that staff, but those two brutal losses to open a season in Laramie at Wyoming and then against Oregon at home, it's just like they never recover from those, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, that was a tough start. They go to Wyoming in that opener. If you remember, they were at 17-0 late in the first quarter, and then it kind of fell apart, and they lose that game to the Cowboys there in Laramie. And then against Oregon in that week 2 home game, they lead entering the fourth quarter, and Oregon ends up going ahead late and then gets the late defensive touchdown, I think, to win by 8. But, those were 2 tough losses. And that was a team, like you said, I really thought they were a key contender. I thought Texas was head and shoulders above the other teams in the Big 12, but I really thought Texas Tech was going to make a strong push towards the number 2 spot in that conference, and it just never really came to fruition. And I think, as you pointed out, much of it was just about getting off to that difficult 0-2 start and just never really regaining their footing and getting things headed consistently in the right direction.
Even at the highest level of competition in the NFL, some of those tough losses or tough wins, it kind of shapes the season. And so the psyche of the team even fragile at the professional level, certainly at the college level. All right, let's go to Shreveport. Take the trip to Frisco, Texas, in the Dallas area. Texas, San Antonio, in Marshall. The Roadrunners 10-52.5 here, Paul.
Again, we're going to talk about that portal here, and Marshall's starting quarterback Cam Fancher, indeed in the portal, not expected to play in the game. So redshirt freshman Cole Pennington expected to make his 3rd start of the season for Marshall. And if that name sounds familiar, Cole Pennington is indeed the son of former Marshall great and NFL quarterback Chad Pennington. The younger Pennington, he had his moments in a 38-33 victory over Georgia Southern in conference play. But the Thundering Herd in his other 2 primary appearances, they really struggled on offense. Marshall scored just 6 points with Pennington at the helm against Coastal Carolina back in late October. Got shut out by South Alabama on November 18th. He's only averaging 5.5 yards per pass attempt, which is really low. He's thrown 6 interceptions, no touchdowns. He's not really a running threat. Hasn't showed much escapability to this point. And then you look at a guy who's not opted out yet to prepare for the NFL draft. The Marshall's running back, Rasheen Ali, a guy who rushed for more than 1,400 yards a couple of years ago, has gained over 1,000 yards this season as well. He's going to be taken in the upcoming 2024 NFL draft. And again, as he hasn't opted out to date, it would certainly seem to be that that's at least a possibility in the next week or so as we wait on this game to be played there in Frisco. In my mind, even if Ali does play, Marshall's only chance with Pennington at quarterback is to manage the game, condense the game, shorten the game. In fact, in the 3 games that he's played, they've only averaged 53.3 plays per game. So they've already set the table for that type of approach to a game. I think they're going to, do just that. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. The game is played outdoors. The 10-day forecast, which is really a crapshoot, looks like it's going to be warm in Frisco, or relatively warm, although sometimes, as you know, in the DFW area, 4 days before Christmas, you can have some cold weather and you can have some wind. Anytime you have a bowl game being played outdoors or in a cooler climate outdoors as well, that kind of at least is a small check mark for me in the under side of the ledger. So I like this game to go under the 52.5. I think Marshall shortens it. I think we see about 120 or so plays and the Thundering Herd and UTSA go under that total of 52
Paul,
and a half.
Frankie Harris, the longtime quarterback, he is a go for this game, though, right?
He is. He's going to play, and he's a seventh-year quarterback.
No.
They might sign him to a 7-year extension. The way college football's going now, they'd probably sign off on it, and he could just play college football forever.
There
Kinda
you go.
like the 40. Yeah, it's a different ball game. He's been playing a long time. There's probably guys who've had NFL careers and retired, older than him or younger than him, rather. So, interesting deal.
All right, so there's your best bets for the start of the bowl season. We'll be here every week with Paul, of course, with Bruce Marshall as well, breaking down the bowls and giving you information, angles, and our best bets. For Paul Sohn, I'm Jimmy Ott here in the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.